I keep my schedule mostly open. I don't have any meetings or commitments of any kind, Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I record my podcast, and if I'm going to do meetings or record other podcasts or anything like that, I'll do a maximum of 1 hour before and 1 hour after. Now, I go through sprints, for example, book marketing, where I might just do a ton of podcasts over the course of like a month, but that's pretty rare. And that's not like a business optimization exercise. That's a creative output and a life optimization exercise. They're very, very different. And this hasn't happened right away. This has happened over time systematically, where I figured out that the best way for me to operate is actually to keep what I call a half-empty cup, where there's a significant amount of extra space that I never fill. There's space to just kind of wander and meander and maybe go down rabbit holes with work or interests that don't lead anywhere. Read studies, read books, because I think that there might be something interesting there, and not be frustrated when there isn't. Because I don't need that many interesting things that I discover that other people won't discover, because they don't have the times to commit to just going down these random paths. Because their cup is so full, they're so over busy, they're so responsive and reactive to others. But there's a personal element to it as well. I have good friends, husband and wife couple. They also have 2 kids. They're a little bit older than us. And they work 2 professional jobs. They're very, very busy. They're very successful in the conventional sense. They make a lot of money, and they've achieved a lot of great things. They have a lot of responsibility with their jobs. And their kids are a little bit older. They play hockey. And they're also in like extracurriculars, like math tutoring and stuff, and really well behaved, really disciplined. They pick up the dishes, they clear the table, they load the dishwasher. They do what their parents tell them the first time that their parents ask them to do something. And then you contrast that with my children, or at least my oldest. Calvin is very much like me in that rules are kind of, what's a good way, suggestions. We get frustrated with him because he'll be so into something, and we'll ask him to help us, lay the table, or we got to go somewhere, whatever it is, and we'll have to ask him over and over and over again. And, he's not as well behaved in the conventional sense. He's incredibly responsible, though, unbelievably responsible. We give him a tremendous amount of flexibility. And Allison asked me one time, she said, what do you think about the difference between how they're raising their kids and how we're raising our children? Who do you think is right? What's better? And I don't have an answer. I don't know what's better. I guess maybe we'll find out at one point 20 years from now to see whose kid is more well-adjusted. Maybe we won't, who knows with a child when they grow up, what impacted it, what didn't as a parent, which is why it's hard to be a parent, because you always second guess stuff. But what I said to Allison is, the only thing that I know is that our friends don't have a choice. They're so busy, they're so scheduled, they're so full in every sense of the word that they can't possibly have children who aren't disciplined. They have no space for a child to explore on their own. They have no time or extra capacity or energy to sit with their child while their child is figuring things out or maybe not listening. And so, of course, their child has to be way more disciplined. Of course, their cup has to be full. And again, I don't know whether this is good or bad. It's just a different way to live your life. But then I think that the only thing that we can expect with a reasonable amount of accuracy over the course of life is that at one point, something unexpected is going to come and kick you in the face. And this happened to us recently. It was really, really hard, actually. Allison and I would love a bigger family. We want as big of a family as we possibly can. And we've had a tremendous amount of loss along the way. That we know of, we've had 8 miscarriages. Some of them have been farther along. We've told our family and our friends many times, and then we've lost the child. It's been unbelievably difficult. And so we had all but given up on having a 3rd child after, another 4 miscarriages after Jaden. And then Allison got pregnant. And we didn't think much of it because Allison always got pregnant. We expected Allison to get pregnant. Getting pregnant was not the issue. Maintaining the pregnancy, was the issue. And what we didn't expect was how sick Allison was going to get, ill to the point of being bedridden. And so for most of her first trimester, almost 2 months, Allison couldn't get out of bed. I mean, if she was standing up for 5 minutes, she had to lie back down or she would throw up. And this was at the same time as I'm running my 2 companies. Now, I mean, I'm not co-operating them, but I'm still, they're my companies. And I'm writing on a deadline the next book, plus I have the Obvious Choice book, which I'm doing the marketing out of. So by my count, I'm doing 4 jobs. This was already going to be a very busy season of my life. And then add to that, caring for Allison, extra responsibilities in the household, making all the meals, maintaining the household. And we have tremendous family support as well, but it was just a lot. About 3 weeks into it, one of our closest friends, one of our neighbors, got diagnosed with cancer, with breast cancer. And it just, I mean, holy shit, man, everything at once starts to happen. And we wanted to be there. Our friend is a single mother. She has a boyfriend who lives in, a house cleaner with 2 young girls. When she, her first bout of chemotherapy, for example, she was told by the hospital that she shouldn't really be around her kids for like 2 days afterwards because she was basically going to be sweating out the chemicals. And so I went with Calvin and Jaden, with my 2 kids, to pick her 2 girls up from school and brought them home to our place. And we didn't know whether or not like they might have slept over at our place. They ended up having dinner with us. They didn't sleep over at our place. But, all of these things, it was an incredibly challenging time. But it was nothing but a challenge. And the reason that it was nothing but a challenge is because my cup was half full, is because I, by design, did not overschedule myself. Is it a good thing or a bad thing that Calvin does not do a lot of extracurriculars? Is he academically not going to be able to keep up with other kids? It's possible, but at the same time, he's the kid who runs around the neighborhood and knocks on doors to our neighbor's place. So when this happened, Calvin was now comfortable with our neighbors and with our neighbors' families, and they were quite happy to have him and Jaden hanging out with them for dinner and into the night just before bedtime while I could care for Allison and clean the house and prepare for the week. That would not have happened if we shuttled Calvin off to extracurriculars all of the time. Any one of these events would have taken out our friends. Their cup is full to the brim. And so for us now, we can look back at that and say that was a really hard time, but also that was a really beautiful time. We were able to be there for our friend who we love and care for dearly, and be there for her kids and her family. And I even took her boyfriend out. We went out for beers because Allison also had cancer. And so I was able to connect with him that way and took him out for beers one night. And he collects sports cards. So I bought a couple of old boxes of baseball cards and had him over, and we opened up the packs together. And just, there was that space to be able to do all of that at that time, and appreciate that there are other people that are going to get ahead by definition faster or more than I am because they're willing to take on more at any given time. And most of the time that's great until it's not, until something unexpected happens, which at one point in your life it's going to happen. And the idea of how you prepare for life, how you prepare for the unexpected, how you build an anti-fragile approach to your life is to leave that space. Even though Allison was so sick, like, we're gonna have a bigger family, we're gonna have bunk beds. And I'm so happy that period of our life was not a miserable one, because it's leading to something so beautiful. We're not regretting it and being saddened by it, instead celebrating that we were able to show up with the strength that I'm proud that we were all able to show up Allison more than anyone.